You're talking about, I think it was a couple days ago, where I was like, I said, I'm like, listen, there's nothing out there that's checking all the boxes. And the quote I use a lot is, I always ask people, typically like when I'm ending the webinar, before I always hold up the mouse, okay? And I'm like, before you click that button, ask yourself, would you rather be flat today? Let's say your account's at $5,000. Would you rather end the day at $5,000 or would you rather end the day at $4,000? When Tim ended the webinar at 10, my account's at 5,000, and at 4 p.m. my account's at 5,000, and I can come back the next day and repeat the process. Which would you rather have? All right, welcome back. Well, shut up, Steven. I'm trying to do the intro. We've been bantering for 20 minutes, and it was all good stuff. You guys should all subscribe to SteadyTrade After Dark. It's where the good stuff is. So if you go to onlyfans.com/tbowen, that's my OnlyFans. You can subscribe. You can get access to SteadyTrade After Dark. So that being said, welcome back, Steven, and welcome back, everyone, to the SteadyTrade podcast. It's kind of one of those episodes, we actually, Steven and I didn't record last week, so we haven't seen each other for a little while. We're going to do a little bit of catching up, and, it's officially post Labor Day, and, Steven's going to talk a little bit about how things have been a little slower on the short side. A lot of dip and rips, a lot of VWAP holds still out there, a lot of squeezers. We got SPRT squeezing again today, BBIG still hanging around. So when these sad short sellers complain about how slow it is, remember, there's always opportunity out there on the long side. Short selling kind of comes and goes. It is seasonal. That's one of the reasons I decided to branch out. But that being said, it is post Labor Day, and we're going to talk about this. Listen, I know slow summers don't exist anymore. That does not exist anymore, particularly 2020, 2021, but slower. I don't think anyone that's actively trading would dispute the fact that there's less going on in the summer. And traditionally, I've always looked forward to post Labor Day. And, listen, kids are back in school. Whether, if you're in the northern climates like I am, days are getting shorter, it's getting colder. It's kind of that everyone's back to work. And we've always seen that where fall and winter gets way more busy. That's when all of the big hot sectors happen. I think of like Bitcoin. Bitcoin going back 3 years ago, it was like post Labor Day, it went extra wild into the winter. It's just people need something to do, and especially when it's cold and dark outside, trading tends to pick up. So that's kind of the topic for today. Welcome back, Steven. How's it going? So speaking of short sellers, oddly enough, Steven is back. He's back in his mom's basement right now, which I can't believe. Meanwhile, my number one short selling joke is that they live with their mom. And Steven, if you hear any noise or if you hear anything, it's because Steven's back in his mom's basement. So,
do you know? There's a couple of points to pick up on, and it's also like I'm some like Californian beach bum. Like, do you see how like tanned I am right now? This is just.
How do you get a tan in the UK? I thought it was illegal. I thought you couldn't
plus on the account every day and then go to the.
I thought you couldn't brush your teeth and you couldn't get a suntan. I thought those were like the rules.
I've got a pretty good tan. I've got pretty good teeth. They're pretty white. But honestly, like so I'm in a good place and a bad place. I'm in a great long term. I'm in a great place. Long term, I'm in a great place. We'll break that down. But short term, I'm in a bit of a worse place. In terms of a great place, is last year was just an absolute dream. Like last year was a dream. Yeah,
it's so wild too. And
so
I know
good.
I'm king of interruptions here, but it's like. That's something that we harped on. That's the greatest thing about trading is, listen, the pandemic was terrible. If you were out of work, it was terrible. If your business was shut down, it's terrible. But geez, we said that for a year, the whole year. we're like, man, the world ain't a great place, but if you're trading stocks, it's an amazing year. So go ahead. Sorry.
But like I was smart, right? So like I was working full time in Dubai last year, getting a good salary, saving like 2/3 of it a month because all I did was study and trade, right? But then I pulled like 66K out of the market on top of saving 2/3 and some freelance stuff here and there. And I was in a position when I came back to England to just put the house down, like buy an apartment cash. So I bought the apartment, no mortgage, own it all.
Beautiful.
Because I wanted that security to know that I'm going to be okay, right? I want to know that if lean times come up, the market changes, I'm always good. So the position I'm in now, I've rented the place out, get like $800 a month, whatever. I can just like travel on that, and any extra income that I make is on top, right? But it's an okay amount to come in each month. The point of it all is I've done that because you never know when hard times are going to strike. And these last 3 months, for me, have been tough to make. I'm not lost money, but the last 3 months, but I've not really made money.
Right.
And that's where I'm almost. I don't know if there's a market for OnlyFans for me. See a lot of women doing it. I see it going well, but
listen, there's 8 billion people on the planet, Steve. Remember, 8 billion people. But think about all of the varied interests in 8 billion people on the. Don't sell yourself short, my friend.
I know, but I mean, you're going to be a politician, and I'm going to be a prostitute. So legalize it. Whatever state it's legalized, then I'll go to it. No, but I mean, like honestly, I'm naturally. When you go through 3 months of not making money, like shorting's been tough, the market's been slow. I'm like, thank God when I ran while I kept the money and didn't be stupid. Thank God I invested it in safe things to like live a good life. So now I'm off traveling. We'll talk about it in a minute. But
and that's I think a huge point to everyone out there. I mean, I've seen it a lot. You know, if you get that early success, which is very common in trading, I mean, we see it a lot where people, you know, they get that explosive start. And, you know, warning to you and learn from Steven. I mean, listen, if you're doing really well now, congrats. But understand that, you know, number one, your strategy might dry up. Maybe you take a big loss. So, you know, sock that money away, don't buy the Lambo yet, and I greatly respect what you did, Steven. I mean, you bought a hard asset too. I mean, it's not like you bought some stupid car or motorcycle or something like that. I mean, it's a really nice apartment in a city, in a nice city, and it's always going to be worth something, whether you're in it, whether you're occupying it. I mean, you got a home base. Or again, people always have some place. I mean, that's something I talk about a lot. 90% of my long-term holdings are in real estate, and I think that's the smart thing to do. So to all of you out there, I mean, don't buy the Lambo yet, whether you save it or you buy a hard asset, or you just, like I said, just squirrel away the cash because it might dry up, so.
And in all honesty as well, though, like, it's what a lot of traders will do is they'll hit one setup and it'll work, and they'll just repeat the setup.
Which is great, love it.
Which is awesome, and you'll make a bunch of money, right? Because that setup can last forever, but it can kind of seasonally come on and off. And I thought I'd developed like 2, 3, 4, 5 different setups. But when I really look back at the data and the stats, I feel like I was kind of just winning and losing on the other setups, and I only really won on one. And I think it's kind of the best thing for me is, and some good advice that you said was, always make sure you've got something else, because when I had a full-time job, when you're working full-time, A, you're earning a full-time salary, but B, your setup's there, you play it, your setup's not, you don't trade. Simple as that. You don't even look at the market. And I think that was a massive thing.
That's that story. I like to think that I practice what I preach. And, one of the reasons, and many of you probably heard this story a million times on the podcast, but, one of the reasons I'm here is, I sold my business. I went full time, and then I'm just sitting there in the worst possible time, because, I always talk about the dark days of day trading. I mean, here it is 2013 and it's slow. It's slow, man.
It's not 2013. Is it? No, it's not 2013, dude. It's 2021.
Well, when I sold the business and went full
in
time.
2013.
Yeah. So and I started with StocksToTrade in 2015. So it was like 2 years of just staring at this computer all day long and waiting and and maybe forcing stuff that wasn't there, because again, fortunately I sold the business. I didn't need to do anything, but you sit there all day long, you feel like you have to do something. It's like, Jesus, I'm like, hey honey, I'm heading out to the, I've got that detached home office. I'm like, I'm heading out there, and it's like 3:00, and it's like, I haven't done anything. I need to do something. And vice versa. Even worse, if you put yourself in that position where you don't have savings and you don't have that day job, wow, man, that's a lot of pressure.
I always remember when I used to say day trading was easy last year. I said it a bunch of times on the podcast, and it always used to be like, you always pull a face where like, I probably wouldn't say it was easy. And I'm like, no, it's honestly easy. And yeah, no, it's tough. Like this year, these last few months have been a lot tougher, and it's about not losing when your setup's not there. But it's like, and you say it a bunch of times on SteadyTrade. It's like there's a bunch of days where like, guys, like if I've saved you like X amount of money, I've done my job today.
Yes.
And it's the truth, because like yesterday there was no good gap bars, right? There's no good gap bars. In fact, all month, if you look at the gap bars this month,
well, there was nothing yesterday till BBIG.
Nothing today.
BBIG for what I trade until BBIG went
long,
ready.
By the way.
Yeah, until that. Nice job, by the way. But until that,
it's because of you talking about it in the SteadyTrade.
Until that thing squeezed in the afternoon, there was nothing, man. I mean, I'm just sitting, again, it was one of those days where I'm like, and then all of a sudden it went red to green and broke 1150. And then I was like, here's the party. But yeah.
Only to get smashed back down, by the way. But you've got to take profits. You've got to take your momentum, right? I mean, when a stock's pushing that way and breaking those levels, I mean, you've got to take half off and stop out, break even the other half.
Yeah, which your exit.
Which I did.
Well done.
Top ticked it, but unfortunately, I top tick a lot of covers with my shorts as well. So, but
no, I saw your tweets, man. I loved it. I was like, oh, those are those times when I get a little tear. It was like my wife was doing some cleaning the other day, and she pulls out my son's like a project from like second grade, and it's a writing project, and it's a note about me and how much he loves me taking him hunting and fishing. I get that little tear in my eye when I see Steven nailing BBIG for like $1 a share. It's not the same, but I get almost a tear,
No, but I mean, I'm honestly at the point now where I had 3 short setups. 2 of them I've realized aren't really, they just don't work. They just don't work for me. So I've only got one now, one gap and craps. Like they've worked for years when they do work on and off seasonally. And the rest of the stuff I'm doing really is like $20 longs, like the BBIGs, the VWAP holes, the double bottoms, something with low float and high volume that might reverse. Like I'm just playing one short setup and a couple of long setups. And that's where I found I'm most comfortable, and I can whenever I do anything else, I lose. And it's not about what you make, it's what you can keep. And if you're losing a couple of thousand, like on a stupid short setup, it's kind of dumb, right?
Well, and that's
there's nothing else out there. I'll just short this. It's up a lot.
You're talking about. I think it was a couple days ago. Where I was like, I said, I'm like, listen, there's nothing out there that's checking all the boxes. And the quote I use a lot is I mean, I always ask people, typically like when I'm ending the webinar, because I get done about 10 a.m. and then I come back in the afternoon. But I'm like, listen, ask yourself before I always hold up the mouse, okay? And I'm like, before you click that button, ask yourself, would you rather be flat today? Let's say your account's at $5,000. Would you rather end the day at $5,000, or would you rather end the day at $4,000? Would you rather lose $1,000 or just punt? I call it punting, where you're just like, okay, I'm not going to make a trade and my account's at 5. And at when Tim ended the webinar at 10, my account's at 5,000. And at 4 p.m. my account's at 5,000, and I could come back the next day and repeat the process. Which would you rather have? And then that's how I end on slow days. Yeah.
No, but I mean, even for me though, like I'm back at my parents for a few days before I go abroad, and there's no trades, right? Every gapper this week has been like too dangerous to short, but not good enough to long. Like That's how I would describe it. So it's a 2 million float, but it's got a terrible chart and it's got no volume. And there's no news. So you can't short it because the float's too low and it's too thinly traded. Like the volume history is nothing. Like these stocks are not real stocks, kind of. So you've got nothing.
Yeah, and I can tell that on,
you know what I mean?
On pre-market all week on pre-market prep. It's interesting. It almost even helps me. Like it's almost like a screener. Like all week on pre-market prep, I keep getting people asking about these stocks with like 100,000 shares trading. And I'm like, man, and I'm like, and normally that doesn't happen. It's been happening this week. I'm like, why are you asking about this? And it's no offense to the people on there. They're asking about them because there's nothing else out there. They're like, hey, this stock's up 20%. I'm like, it's traded 80,000 shares. It's 9 a.m. I'm like, why are you asking about this?
Yeah, but I mean, to be totally frank and honest, and I'm like ashamed to admit it, but like I'm not like I'm down a little bit on the month, right? Not a lot. What upsets me the most is I've lost $4,000 this month, shorting rubbish when there's nothing else because I can't walk away. I've lost $4,000, and then I would have been up this month if I hadn't lost that.
See, and that goes back to
what am I doing, like.
And I'm not trying to be like I told you so, but that goes back to that quote.
Tell me that you told me so. Like I'm happy to be told. I need to be told.
And that's real money. I mean, $4,000. That's real money.
I'm not making. This is not a joke, by the way. Like I've literally lost $4,000 punting shit, basically. And I'm just like, what have I done? Why am I doing it? Can you stop me? Put the hat on.
Well, I think I think you're doing the right. I think you're doing the right thing, in my opinion, because let's talk a little bit about what you're doing with the trip and stuff. I think you're doing the right thing. I mean, you've been talking about this traveling. You got the apartment lease. Just take some time off. So what's your plans? Let me know.
I'll just say one more thing because I was talking to Tim Sykes. Right? One more thing. I was talking to Tim Sykes. He hits us up on Insta now and then and just he's like, "How are you?" And
he never messages me.
I don't know why he messages me every time he messages us. I'm like, really? I was like, wow. I'm like, thanks, dude. I'm like.
No, every time he messages me, we just yell at each other. So that's why he doesn't message me. But anyway,
no, he legit hits us up like every couple of months, being like, how are you? And I'm like, dude, like, thanks for caring. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm like, thanks for caring because you got a million students and you reached out. But he was saying to us, I was like, this is a good point, right? So I sent to Tim Sykes, I was chatting to him, he hit us up. I mentioned him in a post and he asked us how I was. And I says, dude, you know what it is? I says, you've got about 10 minutes, because we're just chatting. And he was saying, I hope things are going well. I was like, yeah, they're all right. I'm just a bit scared about traveling. And then I was saying, by the way, well done, because you went out to create a bunch of millionaires. You've created like 10 plus.
I think you push 20 now. Yeah.
Like 20 millionaires, like 10 public. And I'm like, but you know what I'm most impressed about? I'm most impressed that when I started in the game of trading, people used to have the perception that penny stocks were A, a scam, or B, you're a scam, like as in Tim Sykes is a scam. And I said in the last 6 months to a year, maybe his circle of people just don't reach out to us or something, but in the last 6 months to a year, I've never heard anything about Sykes being a scam or about penny stocks being a scam. And I just think that perception's changed over the years. It was a scam 6 years ago.
Sure. Oh yeah.
It's not a scam anymore. No one thinks it's a scam. It never was.
Never was, but that was the perception. Yeah.
And I was so wowed by the fact that had changed over the last 6 years. But anyway, yeah. And the other thing he was saying, oh, you'll be the next millionaire. I'm like, dude, not the way I'm trading right now. But like, it was nice of Sykes to still believe in us. He's like, dude, you'll be a millionaire. You'll make it. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, the trip is.
I got faith in you too. man.
Dude, I'll make it, but like, just, I mean, is it normal to go through 3 flat months? Like, I'm up on the year, but like struggling, Jesus.
I think it's real. You don't, I mean, I think the perception is it's not real. I mean, again, I think about back when I went full time. It was, like I said, I tell this, I mean, it was, I mean, just a lot of just nothing for months at a time. Now it was a different market back then. But again, it's like whether it's social media or whether I think it's I mean, I think people like to blame social media, but it's like it's like back when there was just magazines and newspapers, they always focused on the overnight successes. They would never talk about the people that, again, look at like a Richard Branson. I mean, it's like they'll talk about all the amazing things he did. Yeah, he's been doing it for 50 freaking years. It's like, so I whether it be, it's just the way we're wired. But I mean, nobody talks about the valleys. It's always like, or like the athlete that gets hurt, like, Conor McGregor blows out his ankle. Nobody talks about him for a year, and then he'll win again, and they'll act like, oh, he did it overnight. Well, no, he didn't. He spent a year rehabbing that ankle and training his ass off to come back,
And dude, I think you've just got to watch your expectations as well. I think like being like confirmed, comfortably profitable, like there's undisputably profitable now. I think you've just got to think like, you had a good year, 60, 70,000. You can't just expect to like blow off. Some people do, but you just can't expect. You've just got to be grateful that you're pulling money from the market when 95% don't. Yeah. You just got to be grateful you're in that 5. Do you know what I mean? I think you just got to rein back sometimes. Just got to rein back.
Well, and that's, again, that's kind of where I was headed. You said it better than I did. We're sold all of these unrealistic expectations. Again, it's like, oh, I didn't make $1 million this year, I'm a failure. Well, no, man, if you're ultimately at the end of the day, and this is, again, it's like, if you're newer, like under a few years, and I don't care if you're $5 green, when you're talking day trading, you're successful. I mean, if you're like under 2 years and you get to December 31st, and I don't even care what that number is, like after commissions and fees, if it's a green number, if it's freaking $5, I think you're successful. Now the perceptions aren't that, the media isn't that, social media isn't that. Social media be like, oh, it's not $10 million. You're a loser. You spent 2 years on this and you didn't make 10 million. You're a loser. In my opinion, any green number is a newer trader. And that's, in my opinion, anybody under 5 years is still new. I mean, it's like, unless you're absolutely insane, like a Jack Kellogg. I mean, it's like, or even a Roland. I mean, again, we've told this, I mean, Roland almost like went blind, I mean, like he had vision issues from watching, from staring at a computer 20 hours a day,
Yeah, dude, I'm honestly of the belief of just being like, you've got a cool setup, take it when it comes.
Yep.
You could easily take like 60, 70, 80,000 a year if you just trade that setup, don't do anything else, and just travel and enjoy life. Like that's where I'm. So for me, I'll be traveling quite a lot. I think I'm doing Portugal for a surf camp, and then meeting my friend in Gran Canaria. Then I'm more or less pretty much heading to the States. Like I'll go through Mexico because I have to go Mexico 2 weeks and then to the States. So
So how much do you have to pay the cartel to smuggle you in the country?
Dude, if trading gets any worse, I might just join them. Like I literally might just, and then if I die, I die. It's just one of those things. Like I was just following orders. You know what I mean? No, but I'm serious. Like if trading gets any worse, I'm joining the cartel, make some quick money, refund that. Well, dude, I'm good for like, I have the bank balance, I have the trading thing, but do you know what I mean?
So what? How long? And actually, I told you we were bantering before the podcast. I told you to save it. So when do you think you'll be in the U.S.? Kind of what's your plans?
I fly to Portugal on Sunday. So I've got I should hit the States from like October 14th.
Okay, so middle of October.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that like I've got nothing from October to December. So obviously I'm doing Vegas, right? Like obviously I'm doing a week in Vegas. But then other than that, I don't know, like I know Bryce and Matt Monaco were saying come to the offices,
Yep,
and Roland's there as well, obviously. So
Yep.
so I was thinking about I'll definitely try and hit the offices for a week or so, or something like that. See if I can get on the other favorite show apart from this show, which is the what the hell is it called? I forgot it because I haven't watched it for 2 days. What's it called? Shit.
What are you talking about?
The show with Bryce and Matt.
Oh, well, This Week in SteadyTrade or The Twist or
Nah, they have a daily show.
I didn't even know.
Matt and Bryce have a daily show called hang on, that is
Or just the recap, you mean?
yeah, small cap recap.
Yeah. Okay.
Small
You were
cap recap.
okay. You were, I thought, again, obviously I
I'm
knew
number
about
one
that.
fan of that shit. Like I'm a fanboy.
No. I thought you were talking about like some sort of different.
No.
You, as usual, you confused me. It's probably that fake accent of yours. You know, if you could just talk like a normal human, maybe it wouldn't have went over my head. But
Do you know the funniest thing that you've ever said on the podcast? And two different people said they laughed out loud. Was when you said I was, what was it? Something like not something but autistic or something.
Autistic instead of artistic. We were talking about NFTs. Yes, yeah.
That was your highest highlight reel moment in 5 years.
I'll take it. I'll take any wins I can get. So
yeah.
Well,
no,
hey,
so
I mean,
I'll
so
be-
if
I'll
you're
be in
gonna be
October.
you're gonna be in the U.S. in the fall, are we going hunting together?
Dude, I'll do whatever you want. We'll do whatever. I've got literally 3 months. You're gonna need to make a man out of this because I'm literally dude, like I'm good, but I've got some bad habits. Like I do stupid stuff.
I like it. I mean, we can lift some weights, eat some steaks, we can cut some wood, we can go hunting. I like this. I'm glad that you're here in the fall. So,
Dude, I can do a few days at yours as long as you don't go too hard on us. I'm more than happy.
oh, there's there's only one. It's only hard, man.
Ah, we'll go hard. We'll go hard and stay hard.
Watch Rocky 4 before you come to the Great White North, man.
I think Sykes is in Florida, right? He's traveling. He'll give us his apartment. We'll throw some parties there. I'll clean up good after.
I like it.
I'll take Sykes's place for a week or something after. I'll go hard with you, and then I'll be throwing some crazy parties at Sykes's mansion, wherever it is.
Miami, perfect. I like it. So
take his boat out. I'm sure he'll lend us his boat with bros. We know each other. You know what I mean? Sykes will give us his boats. So yeah. So in the fall, so if I see some people, like hopefully I'll see some traders and stuff like that as well. Like I'll meet some people.
Yeah, it's a bummer, you know. I mean, I know you probably scheduled this trip in anticipation of the conference, which, you know, we're not doing again. You know, again, it's like, I mean, geez. I hate to jinx us, but you know, here we are. There's rumors of another lockdown and stuff, you know, and variants and all this stuff. So it's like, it's a bummer, man. I did a webinar last night, and I was talking about, you know, the conference and stuff. Man, I miss it. It's that was a great, you know, just especially like, you know, and I usually did the opening presentation at them the last 4 or 5 years, and you know, I honestly mean it. It was always like, to me, the networking was the best part. I mean, it was, you know, the presentations are awesome and stuff, but just to be able to, like, you know, get together with, you know, I always call it degenerate penny stockers. I mean, there's just, it's like, you can't, I think it's getting better in the post 2020 world, but it's like, you can't just go down to the coffee shop and talk to people about stocks. So it's what I always loved about that event. And hopefully we'll be back in 2022, hopefully.
Yeah, dude, I've got friends from that. I went to conferences. I've still got friends from those conferences. I still speak to people. So I hope to meet some people, and we'll say, I hope to either meet a Mexican woman and not come home unless I've got a kid called Javier. I think I've already told you that, right? That's literally my goal. Or I'll marry American, get the passport, and I'll probably live next door to you. I'll take your rental place, and my rent will pay your rent.
Well, hey, Stephen and I actually jumped on this podcast a little early. I think he's got to catch a train or a flight or something.
I've got a leaving party because I'm leaving in a few days. So next podcast I'll be from Portugal.
Perfect. Okay, cool. And I got a conference call in about half an hour. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Steady Trade podcast. You know, this is again kind of one of those old school episodes, but hopefully it shows through. I mean, you know, it's funny, Steven and I have only hung out in person once, but
More
I
than
could.
once, dude. We've done twice, but like multiple days.
Well, that's my point, But I missed you, man. I missed you.
Am
Over
I
the
really
last
going
week.
hunting? Am I really going hunting with you? Or is
Yeah.
this like on air convo? Would you?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll sit in the sauna and you'll like shout it as be more a man. Be a man.
yes, we'll do that. Yep.
Like
Yep.
at very high degrees Fahrenheit.
For yep, and then we'll have to go out in the snow, jump in the ice tank. Yeah. Yep. So,
dude, like let's do Hell Week. Let's do a Navy SEAL Hell Week.
I like
start training like in a few weeks.
I like it. So yeah, and we'll go
training
hunting.
next
Yeah,
month.
yeah. So basically, I'm not going to let you hunt with a bow because you'll screw
Might
it up.
kill a human.
No. But with a bow, it'll be a disaster. But we'll get you out on the range. I'll get you shooting a gun. We'll get you up there, and then we'll. So ideally, in Michigan, firearms season starts November 15th. So try and, just as you're thinking about it, it'd be cool if you're going to be here all that time. If try November 15th or later, that way get you out here for firearm season, and we'll put some meat in your freezer, man. So
Dude, sounds good. I don't have a
that way.
freezer,
That
I've got a
way,
suitcase,
when you go to Austin to the office, if you bump into Joe Rogan, you can be like, "Hey, I got some meat in my freezer, just like you do, Joe." So
yeah. And I'll be like, we're both buddies because we both had coronavirus. You got it, eh? You got it, eh? That's another thing, crazy thing. He got over it fast because he's a real man.
Hey, man. So it only took you out for what, a couple days? Well, you still worked. So
yeah, I was trading every single day.
Yeah,
I was trading every single day, and I was doing podcasts with coronavirus. I recorded with it, but yeah, it doesn't affect winners basically. If you're a winner, it doesn't take you down for long.
You're gonna get us canceled.
Just the losers in life that get hit down by it.
I love it. So anyway, thank you everyone for listening to the SteadyTrade podcast. Definitely share with your friends. And as always, this was kind of just Steven and I catching up a little bit, but I honestly mean it. If there's a topic, if there's anything you want us to go over, we've got a contact over at SteadyTrade.com. You can email us, etc. Have a great day, and I'm fired up. I'm excited for the fall and excited to see you, Steven. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode of the SteadyTrade podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Thanks so much for watching and being part of the StocksToTrade community. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Our goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but we can't do it without you guys. So if you like what we're doing here and you want to hear more, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.